What's up, everyone? This is Virtue here on the BigVitoBrand.com for the Big Vito Sit Down with Jargo, Colin, the Cleaver Andrew from No DQ, and of course the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso. Gentlemen, what's up? Vito, this is your sit down. What's up?
I hope everybody is doing good. We did a big relaunch. We're going on YouTube and we're going on Twitch. Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to introduce Colin. He has been a journalist, analyst with the No DQ brand for some time. And he finally, after his application got lost on my desk for the last 7 years, he finally has gotten a spot here on the Big Vito brand. Colin, how are you doing, man?
Thank you so much for having me and finding that application. I appreciate that.
That's right. And
look what happens. Look what happens when you clean your room. You know what I mean?
That's right. When you clean your room, your beard has grown since the last time I saw you.
Yes, sir.
Your first child is just about to be born, and the name is Vito. We like it. All right, here we go. First topic on the sit down with Big Vito is let's cover the baseball with the big contracts that have been going out there, guys. Juan Soto of the Nationals turning down $440-something million on a 15-year guarantee. Mr. Virtue, lead us off. What is your take on that?
None of these players are worth any of that. Like, I know they sell jerseys, but it's ridiculous contracts. I feel bad for the people that paved the way that got microscopic, if you look at it now in comparison, contracts compared to what these guys are getting now. And you ever notice, Vito, they get their contract and then they can't play full seasons afterwards, or their production goes down. So, it's kind of a fine line, though. Like the Cleveland Guardians, do you play Moneyball or do you spend a little bit of money? But do you do what the Yankees do? I mean, how many championships have the Yankees had the last 20 years? One?
None. It's in 2009.
One. Yeah, I mean, but all that money, if you look at all the money they spent, just one?
That's it. Jargo, go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's true, Virtue. But also when you look at attendance, the Yankees are typically towards the top. And if you want to keep people coming to the show, you got to keep the team at least competitive, unlike, the Cleveland Guardians. But, hey, that's a whole other subject, right? I do agree, though, that nobody is worth this amount of money. I think it was Charles Barkley like a week ago came out and said, Mom, why couldn't you have had me just like, 10, 15 years later? I could have gotten paid. I mean, when you look at the guys like Jordan and Pippen and Barkley, that era of ball players versus what these guys are making out, DeAndre Ayton just got paid a max contract.
Yes.
I mean, and granted, a lot of it's because of the Indiana Pacers. And if they hadn't have, signed that ridiculous contract sheet, he never would have gotten a max contract. But here we are. And now he always wanted to be in Phoenix. That's exactly what he said to the media. I always wanted to be in Phoenix. Just like if they get a deal worked out, Juan Soto always wanted to be playing in Washington, D.C. But, he just wants to play ball. You turned down $500 million, bro, with a B. You don't want to just play ball. Shut up. Just go play baseball.
He'll end up, his career will be shitty. You watch.
He'll be back there in 10 years, just like Albert Pujols in St. Louis.
All right, Colin, go ahead. Break in today. We're going to get you a game ball. Go ahead.
All right, game ball. I mean, honestly, like this year, I really haven't paid too much attention to baseball. I've been just stuck at work. My service is crap down there. I can't listen to the games. And then here in Ohio, you have to have Bally Sports to watch them unless it's blacked out, like on any other channel. Like I get the MLB network. I can't watch Cleveland games here. I am 50 miles east of Cleveland.
Do you know why, Colin?
Because the contracts that
because they can't sell out the stadium because they don't buy any damn players and they put a crappy product on the field. Thus,
it's been that way. And it's been that way for a long time. I know we had our little run back in, what was that, 2016, 17, something like that. We had a good shtick that year. But honestly, since the days of Tomey and Lofton and Vizquel and Manny Ramirez and all those days, Cleveland baseball has not been anything to me.
No.
Hence why I'm a Red Sox fan. So,
man,
wow, you came in with that.
And see, I just fantasy baseball. I just care about the player stats that are on my fantasy team.
I'm just rethinking Colin and I's entire friendship now, knowing that he's a Red Sox fan.
Hey,
So now
we can't agree on everything.
You guys just got the gist of 440 something million, right? and they say that the guy on the Angels, what's his name?
Vito, because he's going to get
Mike Trout.
$500 million from another team.
No,
That's
hold
why
on,
he
hold on,
turned it
hold on.
down.
My point is, Mike Trout is supposed to be the greatest baseball player of this generation. He's been on the Angels and he's won nothing. So you're willing to spend all this money to win nothing, just like Aaron Judge now is on the cusp of a great contract, right? If this guy turned down 440, the Yankees are not going $500 million or half $500 million for Aaron Judge. Do you justify it? No. Not with Stanton. Not with Stanton on the team.
Here is my thing more so. This is bad for the game. All right. You hear these players turning down $440 million while inflation is at 10%. People are wondering how they're going to put food on their table at the end of the day. The last thing they want to hear about is somebody turning down $440 million. All you're doing is alienating fans and damaging the game. All these contract negotiations, they need to be taken out of the media immediately if you want to save professional sports. It's not good for the leagues. All you're doing is pissing people off, and the ticket prices are going through the roof. And now for a family of four to go to a baseball game, just for tickets, you're looking at $230.
You know who started all this shit in baseball? A-Rod, when he got, his agent, when he got that contract with the Texas Rangers. Remember that?
No, because I remember when Barry Bonds went to the San Francisco Giants and got paid an exorbitant amount of money back then, just like I blame Scottie Pippen for the NBA contract.
No, but still, though, look at A-Rod's contract. I know inflation, we're talking maybe 8-year difference between those two contracts, but the A-Rod was ridiculous. That was like the length, 200 million, 250 million, just ridiculous.
Baseball needs the Scottie Pippen rule that says you can't sign a contract longer than 5 years.
All right, guys. Now, with all that said, I want to say hello to Annette, some punk. He's got all those. How you doing, guys? Anyway.
What's up, punks?
What's up, punks? All right, now, let's switch to basketball. Now, you look at basketball and you look at their contracts, okay? Now, let's take James Harden. He went to the Philadelphia 76ers. He was on a max contract deal. He decided to take less money a la Tom Brady, so we could sign some players so we can be competitive in the league. But how much is a James Harden with declining skills worth in today's market? Colin, we're going to start with you first.
I mean, in today's market with him, I mean, he might not be, of age or whatever, but the knowledge is there, and that's half the battle too. When you have a seasoned vet, he might not be, this, that, or the other in his prime deal anymore. But again, you have that that mindset of how to be a team player. And if he's willing to take less money to bring people in, that means obviously he's a team player. You know what I mean?
I mean, Liz, I've never been a James Harden guy. I think he's a selfish player. The ball stops at James Harden. He has to be the man on the team. Okay, now if he's going to take a $15 million pay cut so he can take a step back and now be the Robin to Joel Embiid's Batman, I just don't buy it. I don't buy the chemistry. I don't buy the layout. I don't buy Philadelphia. I still think it's a terrible deal for Philadelphia. They should have just moved on from James Harden and actually went and got somebody that's going to fit into that system, which James Harden does not. As far as what is he worth inside of the modern NBA, it depends, because I feel like he's worth a lot more to teams like, I don't know, Philadelphia, that are long since forgotten franchises that are trying to relive the glory days of days past. And in order to do that, you got to spend a whole bunch of money. And Philadelphia did so on James Harden. Like, I don't think it's a good deal if you're a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't feel like it's a good deal if you're an upcoming team like the Indiana Pacers. I feel like this is a deal to kind of stop the bleeding and keep bringing butts into seats.
All right, Mr. Virtue.
All those three guys that were on the Thunder should have all stayed together. And of course, Durant won a couple titles, but he had to go to an already great Warriors team. Let's look at those 4 Warriors championships. I think that's how many they got. The common denominators are Curry, Thompson, and Green. The whole way through. Durant came through for the ride, got a couple. Dude, all those guys, they can't win alone or with other stars. They can't. And so to me, Harden, he's just one of those guys. He was overinflated. because he's a stat muncher and dominates the ball, and that's why you think he's great. I'll give Durant some slack because he had a couple MVPs in those finals, but it's pretty easy when you go to a team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson to be the best, as your backups and your second guy. I don't like any of those guys. They could have all stayed together. They lost to LeBron when he was in Miami. Harden wanted a contract, whatever happened there, and they all went their separate ways because of ego.
The only sport that has any regulation of some kind of respectability when it comes to salary is professional hockey. You know what the minimum contract is in hockey? $725.
Yeah, I saw somebody trying to get an 8-year deal for $11 million, and that was like big time.
Well, I mean, the WNBA, I think the highest paid person in the league right now is $250,000.
Well, but again, it's based on who watches it, right, Jargo?
Absolutely. I'm not one. I'm a WNBA fan.
Colin, you watch the WNBA? No.
Come on, Colin.
No,
You like
no.
watching it?
No,
Colin.
I think the last time I watched anything the women's basketball related was that movie Joanna Man. You guys remember that horrible train wreck of a movie?
Yep, absolutely. But I when you look at these contracts, I mean, it's all about how much revenue are you bringing to the city. It's about jersey sales. It's about TV ratings, about getting your game on ESPN. You think that they're going to put, the Memphis is a perfect example. Love Ja Morant, one of the best young stars in the league. How often do you see Memphis on basketball night in America, right? You don't.
All right. Now, with everything going on, listen, guys, remember, this is new. This is fresh. Remember, give us a follow and subscribe, guys. August, all shows will be here and moving live and daily. All right.
Vito, did we merge Men of Business with Sit Down? I like that. Is that what you did right here?
Listen, I'm trying to, shake and bake some things here, guys. Miss Noel, you saw her in the pregame. You got a little gist of it. She's starting to feel a little better, get back to herself. You know what I mean? The blonde hair's working for the summer. We got a little home cooking. I even made her a pina colada before we got on, so she feel like she's special. You know what I mean?
Never make me a pina colada.
You never invited me to your house.
Vito, you're always invited to my house.
No, hold on a second. Now, Jargo, you got this big, luxurious 6-figure job with a new friggin' lamp and everything in the backyard, brand new couch. You think you invite everybody over for, something? No, nothing.
Vito, I thought that which is understood does not need to be stated. You are always welcome in my home.
And look at poor Colin. He's been working for no DQ. He can't even afford ceiling in his house. Look at the ceiling over there. Thank God you stepped up to the big time. It don't matter. You can't afford the ceiling or a haircut. And poor Jargo. All right, look at that. He got a girlfriend. He got a haircut. He's cleaned up his act. Now, everybody, go to your room. All right.
And I am in my room in the corner. That's in the corner. It is for me.
All right, we're going to turn this to professional wrestling, guys. I know a lot of great things have happened. Guys, Ronda Rousey. Where are we going with Ronda Rousey? Heel. Face.
Heel.
You have to go heel.
Yeah.
Heel.
She should have always been a heel. She has no redeeming qualities. Like, there's nothing likable about Ronda Rousey.
But if they got to portray, in the office, thought she was a baby face, but they got to portray her as a heel. So, Jargo, how's that going to happen?
How is what going to happen?
What are they going to do with her now? Like,
she's Ronda Rousey. She's the most dangerous woman on the planet. She comes out, she starts breaking people's arms, tearing them off, beating people with it, and then she basically, I don't know if we're going PG on this show, but she craps all over all of the fans because they don't actually respect what a real athlete looks like. That's what Ronda Rousey should do. That's what Ronda Rousey always should have done. She should have came in there and started with people like Bayley. Just figure out who is everybody's favorite, and then you just have Ronda Rousey slaughter them.
Colin, what do you think about Ronda Rousey? I mean, I know you've been on the No DQ review. You come, you give your opinion. You're highly sought after in the wrestling industry. Colin, what is your take on Ronda Rousey?
I think she's been a complete flop since she's returned for the Rumble. They had wasted potential with her in the past when they had her do that interaction at SummerSlam with The Rock and Triple H and all that stuff. Like, that was the time to really, really, really get her in. That's when she was honestly most popular for me. But yeah, ever since she came back from the Rumble, it's kind of like watching paint dry, but it moves. You know what I mean? It's just They need to
But
turn her
you-
heel. She needs to get somebody to be a mouthpiece for her. Number one,
That's true.
because she cannot cut a promo to save her life. She might be able to, whoop on some ass in the real world, but she cannot do it on the mic. I'll tell you that much right now. It's hard to listen to.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
can't have her come out doing the WWE smile
No.
entrance
No.
and then try to be badass. That was going to kill her.
But you know
And it
what the
did.
greatest thing about, you mentioned that with The Rock, Triple H, and Stephanie, right? You have
Mhm.
4 polarizing figures in there. She didn't have to carry the ball. And what we've learned about Ronda Rousey is she can't carry the ball alone on her own. She's not that capable. She wasn't bred to be pro wrestling socialite. She was bred to be MMA killer. And that's what we're seeing with her. Okay. And then you take Sasha Banks and Naomi. I know, guys, you've been following that as well. And it looks like Sasha Banks is out of the WWE. And Sasha Banks is asking for $30,000 an appearance. Guys, I don't think, if you can get it while you're hot, first time around 6 months off TV, you're granted. But I think after that, it's going to be downhill from there. Jargo, we spoke about this on our show on Getting Color. Jargo, give us the people your take on Miss Sasha Banks.
Well, Sasha Banks is going to find out what Ronda Rousey has found out during her time in the WWE, that she's not nearly as big of a star as she thinks she is. And I think that's really what it comes down to. The $30,000, that doesn't bother me. If you can find some guy who's going to put on a convention and pay you $30,000, absolutely she should take it. But I don't think that Mercedes is going to be nearly as big of a star as Mercedes seems to think that she already is. Kind of like Ronda Rousey, her star power died when she got knocked out in the UFC. WWE, we talked about guys getting paid ridiculous amounts at the beginning of the show. Ronda Rousey was that signing for the WWE. They thought she was a much bigger star than what she actually is. They thought that she was going to bring in all kinds of viewers that she never has. And she's not even that great of a performer to begin with. So, and that's kind of where I'm at with Sasha Banks too. Like, if I'm Tony Khan, I do not sign Sasha Banks. I already have Kiera Hogan. I already have you on my roster. I have your character. I have somebody who looks like you, just doesn't perform nearly as well in the ring, but that's fine because I only give the women 7 minutes a week anyway.
All right, Colin.
At 9:30 every week.
Yep.
Every week.
Like
But no,
clockwork.
So I think Jargo touched on a few good things there, and I think Sasha Banks is going to realize and have her slice of humble pie sooner than later. She thinks she's a big deal. Yes, is she good? Decent, but it's the attitude, it's the mindset behind everything, and the way she acts, and this, that, and the other. Will you find someone, like he said? Absolutely, someone will pay her $30K. It's not going to be Impact. You know what I mean? I don't see them even trying to even take a swing at that one. But I really don't. I don't. The whole Sasha and Naomi thing is still just stupid to me in a lot of different ways. Again, I don't 100% know the entire story. Nobody truly does, except for really the people that are there.
All right.
Because not everything's going to be released. But yeah, I don't think she's going to be as big as she thinks she's going to be. And I think she's making a big mistake at this point.
All right, Virtue.
She's going to go to AEW. They're going to bring her in like Tony Khan does. Hey, we got her. Look at, we'll showcase her for a month, and then she'll be right back in obscurity like Tony Khan does with all of his toys. That's what's going to happen with her. She's going to realize that, like Jargo said, she's not as big of a deal as she thinks she is.
Is anybody going to care by the time she actually shows up? I mean, because she's
the AEW marks will.
But I mean, she's still under contract for the better part of a year, right? So once that contract is up, then she can go to AEW. But there's no way WWE is going to release her from that contract. She's going to sit on the sidelines for 3 to 4 months. In 3 to 4 months, is anybody going to care? I mean, remember when MJF was the biggest story in wrestling, and I haven't heard his name in over a month.
Well, AEW is great for that, so why not bring her in when nobody cares?
Well, it's not even AEW. Like, even the IWC has been like, oh, we got something else to talk about this week.
Exactly. Now let's switch over to MMA, where we have one of my all-time favorite fighters, Miesha Tate. She came back to MMA after having a baby, and she looks great. She does, she always was a good fighter. I mean, she wasn't the over the top, but she was a great champion. She fought good against certain level talent. But on her comeback trail, she just dropped down to bantamweight, and she just lost another fight. I think this is the second or third fight she has lost. Guys, is it hard to come back after the fact to try to regain your nasty in the MMA world, especially when you have been a world champion, you've been a socialite, now you're a mom, you're a stay-at-home mom, and you're training for MMA, you're trying to make it back. Now, Jago, you seem to follow the MMA world a little bit. What do you think of Miesha Tate's comeback attempt so far?
Well, I mean, number one, I agree with everything you said, and it's not just UFC; it's combat sports. When you take an elongated period of time off, when you come back, you are not the same fighter that you were when you left. We've seen that countless times. In fact, I'm having a really difficult time now thinking of somebody that was around, had a great career, took 2-3 years off, came back, and continued to have a great career. And I'm really kind of struggling for it, even though it seems like most of these professional fighters only fight once or twice a year at this point. But I do think there is something as far as Miesha Tate goes, that she has the name recognition. You put her on a show. It's kind of the CM Punk UFC thing, right? Like Miesha Tate is going to put butts in seats. People are going to tune in to watch Miesha Tate get beat up because she's Miesha Tate. So, but again, you're just catering to those fans that were already existing. The question is, can Miesha Tate make any new stars? And at this point in her career, I think she's been gone for too long to give somebody that rub of beating Miesha Tate.
All right, Virtue.
You know what I think? May should take. Like like McGregor, Rousey, they're dominant. They're on covers of video games, and then they lose that match. Somebody beats them. And in most cases, they're never the same again after that. And, come back, make people want to see her get like Tiger Woods in golf, but then just can't do it because they're never the same. Once they get over that like run of dominance, it's hard to get back there because you're at the pinnacle, Vito. You're at the top. When you fall down, that's a long way down. And she's one of those. It's a nostalgia act for me. That's why I say May.
Part of it too, Virtue, is, on the way up, and we see this at really every level of every occupation. When you're on the way up, you're hungry. Once you get there, that hunger is gone. It's hard to start over and go do it all again.
Mike Tyson.
I guess you. Colin, what do you got to say about this?
I have to give her comeback a lot of credit because we don't know what type, she went off and had a kid and stuff. We don't know what type of birth plan she had. It could have been a C-section. That's a lot of stuff to heal. I know this personally because a year ago I was cut wide open and I had cancer removed from my kidney and I lost a rib and this, that, and the other. And I'm still feeling all those effects over a year later. And it changes you. Like, it's not just the time off. It's what happens to your body in that process too. Everything changes you. So for her to come back, and even if she's losing fights, but her trying to come back, I think that's awesome. So if she wants to, be there and keep going, and yes, might put over the next, big thing in women's MMA or whatever, or help start that ladder, cool. But I give her a lot of props for trying because a lot of things take the toll on the body. Vito, you should know that too, over the years on stuff. So I
know what it's like to be on top and be that monster. And I can tell everybody firsthand. And my wife is attested to that. When I was on my game and like everything, it was like I was nasty. I can go. It wasn't nobody could blow my doors off. You know what I mean? And once you lose that love and luster, it is tough to go in there and do the grinding because you know what it takes to keep it. You know what it takes to do it. But is it the want and heart and soul to put the time in to be that monster again? I think that's what you lose. We're going to end this off, guys, with Nate Diaz, with all these fights that he said he wants and he hasn't gotten. Nate Diaz is going to fight one of the nastiest guys, Chimakov, I think his name is, right? And that guy, I saw him fight 3 times. That guy is legit bad. He's nasty, right? But for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor and Nick Diaz, some of the guys will put together some great careers in some fights. I think all three of them lost that lust to fight because, like you said, they only fight once or twice a year, and it's hard to keep your bad, you're nasty, and once to fight. Yeah. Now, guys, are going to give you your take on Nate Diaz. Does he stay in the UFC or does he go? Colin, what does he do? Stay or go?
I say he's staying. I think he's going to stay. I think he's got a little more time left in him. The money might be worth it. You know what I mean? A little bit longer.
Where else would he go?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's at this point. Like, is he going to jump to a WWE and AEW, New Japan, or something like that, or does he
know how to golf? Would he go to live? Oh wait,
now Jargo, here's something we got to look at, right? Nate, he says he wants to be a free agent. Is a Jake Paul fight worth it for him to leave the UFC?
No,
I don't think so either.
No, not even remotely. I mean, like, this would be different if we had like an AEW for UFC, if Pride was still around and thriving or something, if Bellator had come up and not been the Impact Wrestling of the mixed martial arts world, right?
I like that reference.
Where else is Nate Diaz going to go? And I feel like the biggest problem with Nate Diaz is Conor McGregor's not fighting him. I feel like that's the only time that Nate Diaz is really relevant is when Conor McGregor's talking smack about him. You need somebody more unlikable than Nate Diaz.
Vito, it's not 2015 anymore. We're talking about Nate, Nick, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey. It's 2022, man. UFC, like Jargo said, if you're hungry, those are the great fighters, the people on the rise that want to get that notoriety. Has anybody fell and came back up? You know how we talk about and they were just as dominant? How's Stipe? Remember Stipe?
George St. Pierre is the only guy.
Stipe. Yeah, I always call him Stipe though.
But George St. Pierre is the only guy who's taken a layoff, come back, beat the champion, go retire again.
I mean, Brock Lesnar probably could have done it.
Brock Lesnar, if he didn't have the injury, if
it wasn't for the diverticulitis.
Yeah, so I mean, it is possible to do, but sometimes it's tougher than you think. Guys, that's all we got for this week. Thank you for an action-packed show. Guys, Virtue and Jargo and Colin, it's our new group here. Virtue, why don't you end the show and give out all the props to everybody, and I appreciate everybody. Remember, subscribe to the channel, subscribe. Virtue, take it away.
Colin, anything you want to say?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite into the fam. But if you want to follow me real quick, no DQ, Colin Andrew on Twitter. Takes you to my Twitter page, hang out, talk, whatever. So thanks for having me. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep, and he's over on No DQ, obviously. Jargo, we got to get you back on the review and everything. Isn't it at Not Jargo?
At Not Jargo, all social media platforms. Nobody will ever know it was me. At Not Jargo.
And that's it. Vito's over on Twitter at the Big Vito Brand. I am at NoDQ_Virtue. But this has been the Sit Down with Big Vito and Company right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. Also check out the Patreon. Patreon.com/BigVMafia. For Colin the Cleaver Andrew, for Dr. Jargo, and for Big Vito Lagrasso, I'm Virtue. We'll see you next time.
And cut. Thank you, guys. Thank you to all the people in the chat who was there. We appreciate your support. We love you. We'll see you next week. And we're going to cut it right here, guys. Hold on.